Now let's talk with our guest today, Frank Kimbler. We are happy to be joined by Mr. Frank Kimbler. Frank, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Oh, Mr. Frank Kimbler, I love that. Makes me sound old.
I've got to kind of sweeten you up there, see how it goes.
Oh, that'll work. That's just fine.
So, Frank, you were recently on the show Chasing UFOs on National Geographic, and you took the team out to the Roswell crash site. So I'm curious, they didn't show a lot of what you guys did out there. What did they show, and more importantly, what didn't they show that we should know about?
Well, I tell you what they did show. What they did show was they showed the use of the metal detectors out there. They showed quite a bit of the metal detection work that was done. What they didn't show, probably the important part, they put out a lot of, it was Ben McGee. They did some radioactive surveys out there, and they had it all surveyed out with the tapes and everything. Now, they have that mentioned out on their website. And Ben McGee talks about that, but they left that piece out. They didn't talk too much about the piece of metal that was found there, although I think they showed that discovery. They were using my metal detector when they found it, and I was walking along with them when they made that discovery up there. And we had a lot of conversations in reference to that particular piece of sheet metal, which is what it looked like that was there. And then I left because it was getting dark and it was cold, and there wasn't much more that I could do. And then they started doing some of their night scenes with their FLIR, their infrared, and their little dancey cameras that hang off the top of their heads, which I thought was kind of
and neat. Whispering in night voice, because you have to whisper at night.
Oh, you have to whisper. That's right. Well, you know what? You could scream out there. I don't think anyone would ever hear you. So they showed that, and then that button thing. You know, I have to call it the way I see it. I don't, and I hate to say this, but I think the button might have been planted. I don't know, and I'm going to hear some flack for people that are watching this. Unless they got really, really lucky out there. I know that I've spent hours and hours and hours metal detecting in that field, and there are days where I have found nothing, and there are other times where I have found basically, you know, pieces of metal and tin and things like that are out there, and stuff that I've presented and had analyzed. To find something as fast as they did, I doubt it. I just have my doubts about it because, like I said, I was out there yesterday, and I was out there all day long, about died in the heat, and I found basically a couple of little pieces of barbed wire that was way off over on the side somewhere, and that's all I found. And I spent 2 hours before I found anything.
When I saw it, my initial thought was, Frank already found buttons. This isn't anything new. You found your own buttons there before.
Oh, they did. Well, see, that's one thing. I showed them the buttons, and they photographed it, and they talked about the buttons a little bit. They didn't show the buttons. They didn't show the plastic. They didn't show a lot of the things that they filmed basically on the top of the car when I pulled out the specimens. They sort of went by the wayside and kind of went their own way with that, which was really kind of sad in a way, because I like the comment that the LA Times made. They basically said it was a lot of Mulder and not enough Scully, which I thought was absolutely hilarious, and that sort of fits the picture of. They kind of left the science part like by the wayside, and I won't say who, but there are great, good English there. There are people on the show that mentioned that to me as well. I'd like to bring up something, if I can, in reference to the isotope work that I had done previously. Those folks, basically, National Geographic, they agreed to have some additional analysis done, and that was supposed to be done at UC Davis, I believe, at a top-notch lab there. And the scientist that was going to do it is one of the best in the world. We set up a conference call. The conference call never happened. They, meaning the National Geographic folks, didn't want to follow chain of custody protocols for it. They said they couldn't afford to fly me out to have the analysis done. I didn't want to give them a piece of the material, basically, to have it set in their office for days on end or even weeks or months. odd thing is, the person that set this up said that the lab said that they needed like a month to do the testing, and I know that's not true. It would take them maybe a day to calibrate it and a day to run the test. It doesn't take a month to do that, and they have a bunch of undergraduates sitting around with this stuff sitting in a lab. I said no, that it's not going to happen, and not unless they follow the right protocols. And I agreed. I said, hey, you know, if we'll sign papers and have people that just sign off on this, have your legal department draw it up, I will be more than delighted to do this. But guess what? They wouldn't do it. So that whole scientific aspect of this went by the wayside, and it left me kind of, I was sad, because the show, if either way, I wanted some good science done, and if they would have proved it right or wrong, if they would have proved it, it would have been a big thing saying, hey, we got extraterrestrial material here. Or if they even would have come back and said that, hey, you know what he found was Mr. Rancher's, you know, tin can or something, I would have been happy either way because I'm a scientist. But it would have been good for the show, and they just didn't do that. So that was the part I didn't like. The entertainment factor, well, it's just like the rest of them that are out there, like Destination Truth. Matter of fact, it's kind of filmed on that same format, and some of the other ones, it sort of fits in line with that. They just don't do enough good science on that show, and that's. The entertainment factor is great, and maybe that makes for good viewing, but not for good science, if that makes sense to you.
Right. You know, and so you originally had these metal samples tested, what was it, in 2011 or 2010 that you discovered?
2010.
Yeah. And you kind of discovered that there was compounds that weren't really making sense, that it appeared to not be anything earthly, correct?
Well, here's what happens. There's things called isotope ratios. When I had that work originally done, the isotope ratios were off. They were off the charts, in fact. But I sort of released the information out there without getting it peer approved, so to speak. It's always nice to have other scientists look at it. And when I had that work done and put it out there, I basically said, hey, there's either analytical error or this thing's not from Earth. That's exactly what I said. I still stand by that. It's at the very edge of the analytical part of the machines. It's just inside their error factor, but it's way outside of where it should be. And I've mentioned this to a lot of people, and they said, okay, that's you need to get more testing done, which is where it still stands. Now, I had another piece analyzed recently that was a little different in composition, and it came back with the same results, except this time we ran a standard right side by side. The analytical error of the machine was 0.0005. It was like way close. That one still came out to be a little bit off when we look at the isotopes. It's not where it should be. Giving you a little science on this, if you look at the U.S. Geological Survey work that they do on isotopes that are earthly, there's a thing called, there's a delta deviation from the norm, which is for everything on Earth, it's plus or minus 3. It doesn't deviate any more or any less than that. It's just right in that realm somewhere. Well, the specimen that I've had analyzed basically is plus or minus 7, which basically it's twice what it should be, and it shouldn't be there. Now, we're talking natural things that they did their work on. There might be some metallurgical processes that cause this stuff to have some weird isotopes, but I don't think so. That's why we still need more work done on this, and I would love to have one of the TV shows out there do this the right way and get me some answers.
I still get emails to this day asking for follow-up, so that's one of the reasons I wanted to know, asking about what's going on with Frank Kimbler's metals. So there are people very interested out there.
I know there are people interested, and I want to get more stuff done. And I will probably, the International UFO Museum in Roswell, those people are great. They've paid for they've paid for all the analysis that's been done, and I think maybe what I need to do is hit them up and have them do another one, which will probably be literally in the one I want to have done at UC Davis is probably going to be $1,000 or $2,000 to get it done. But you know what? It'll give us an answer. It'll say yay or nay for sure. At least it should, and that's what I'd like to do and get done on.
Yeah. Well, Frank, I've got to give you credit. I mean, I respect your scientific integrity here and your desire to do this the right way. You know, you got initial testing done, but, you know, scientifically you said that's not enough. I need to have additional testing to back this up. And you tried to do that. and obviously the Nat Geo testing didn't work out, but hopefully some other testing does work out, because this is incredible stuff.
Well, I would love to have it nationally televised, good or bad. You know what? I'm not one of these persons I don't consider myself a promoter. Matter of fact, I'm going to put the latest analysis out on my website, and that's the geosites.net /Roswell.htm, and I'm going to put that. I'll probably put it out today or tomorrow and make sure it's out there. But I wanted to have a group look at the analysis. There's some people that are scientists and engineers before I put it out, just to make sure that I'm not making boastful claims about, hey, I've got another anomaly here, and this is about to drive me to the brink of insanity, because I can't get anybody to believe that this stuff is otherworldly. And I have my own doubts. I'm my worst critic. Let's put it this way. And that's probably a good thing. Because, like I said, I'm not a promoter. I'm not trying to promote this anyway. I just want to get an answer and find out what this stuff is. I found a bullet out there, the 50 caliber, which is out. I've got a picture of that. I thought that was kind of neat. I had Kevin Randall. I showed it to Kevin Randall. He says, well, bullet doesn't mean anything. It's people shoot all the time. I says, well, 50 caliber is a little close to the windmill that was out there. I wouldn't want to have my cattle having stray 50 calibers, which would basically blow the poor cow apart if it ever hit them. So. And it's an old one. Where it came from, it conjures up visions of, oh my God, were they shooting at aliens out there back in the 1940s or something? But you never know what it is. It was just kind of a unique find. So, yeah. But no more buttons, and I have found some additional pieces of metal out there as well, aluminum fragments. So, at least I think it's aluminum, and it all still needs to be tested. I've got about 20 fragments right now from out there over the course of a couple of years worth of looking. So.
And you're continuing your search, huh? You're still out there?
I'm looking, and I'm looking a lot. Other people apparently are looking too, because I was out there yesterday and I did see some evidence that some people had been doing a little bit of digging, which anytime you get stuff out and it shows like on the internet or on TV, which is okay. We just don't want I'd hate to see the place contaminated, and right now it's pretty pristine. It works pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, it is pretty hard to find out there too, though. I've been out there, and it's out in the boonies. So
it is.
Luckily, that will deter quite a few people that don't know where it's at to stay off the land. And
there's not too many people that go out there. I think it works pretty good.
All right. Well, I'm excited to read new stuff, and hopefully good luck. I hope something comes through with testing. But we'll definitely post the link to the website in the description with this episode, so people can go and check that out. And
cool.
Frank, we'll have to have you on again after more testing is done. I'm optimistic. I know that testing is going to come soon, so we'll keep our fingers crossed for you.
Yeah, I got lots of people that are asking for it, so it'll get there. It will definitely get there.
The interest is definitely there, and it could potentially be huge. So,
all righty.
All right, Frank. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Oh, and I appreciate being on your show. Thank you very much.
Our pleasure.
You guys have a bye.